can't recommend you highly enough. You've certainly changed my life. It's been amazing.
Thank you.
Love yourself enough and care for yourself enough to reach out for help and to do something about it.
Wherever you go, you'll never have to be alone, 'cause I'll be by your side. I'll be by your side.
So I'm talking to Sue today. Sue and I have been working together for just over 6 months. And yeah, so what were your main challenges? What is it that didn't work for you before we started working together?
And my main challenges would have been with a really bad binge eating habit. Whenever I was stressed, tired, or things were just generally going wrong in my life, I'd revert to binge eating. It was a great source of comfort. It met a need, but I didn't know what need until I started working with you. And yeah, challenges also, another one would be just constant dieting. So it was a cycle between constant dieting, trying new diets, and then stopping that because whatever, boredom, they weren't working, too hard, and then reverting back to the binge eating. And I just decided that enough was enough. And I didn't want to live my life like that anymore with those sort of challenges, because I do believe that they can be overcome. I just needed some support with that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And so then you found me, I assume, kind of Google or online. And what is it that, like, what was the reason why you decided working with me? What is it that was appealing to you, maybe?
I think it was all your advertising. So it was on Facebook that I found you, and you were called Mind Foodness then, and I think it was all your advertising really pushed that it's a mind plan, that it's nothing to do with the diet or what goes into your mouth, that's getting your mind right, like it's a plan for your mind. And that appealed to me because deep down I knew that it was my mindset, it was my attitude, it was that how I thought about myself, how I thought about food. That's what had to change. Like I was aware enough to know that. And then I think I sought the help because I knew that it was just something too big to tackle by myself.
Okay. And then obviously we started. So what was different then in our work, or what is it? Did you find that we were working on what you thought it's going to be about?
It ended up being totally different because I, in the back of my mind, I always thought, I'll get my mind right and then I'll weigh a certain number. So it was still in the very beginning, it was still focused on working towards that. But, as time progressed, it totally switched from that number on the scales. I can't remember the last time I weighed myself. They're not out of the house, but we're getting there. But I haven't stepped on them in what would be months. And my whole focus changed to loving me for who I am, accepting myself and my body for what it can do for me, and not thinking about what it can't do. It's focusing on the positives. And it was just a whole change in my mindset. And I think the things I really loved when working with you is that you challenged what you call the bullshit stories that we tell ourselves. And I was good at having those stories, and you challenged in a nice way, but I knew you meant it as well. And that's what you need. It's no point having someone that you're accountable to or getting support from if they're not going to challenge you. So, I really appreciated that. And I always came away from the calls feeling encouraged, supported, but challenged to make the changes that I need to make, but one step at a time.
Yeah. Absolutely, like challenging in terms of questioning, right? Questioning, does what I feel, does what I think or do, does this help me? Does this bring me closer to my goals, or is it actually taking me further away from them? And then when we question those thoughts and beliefs and stories, then you can reframe them and start actually making those changes to start doing more of the things that bring you then closer to what you want, to the way you want to live your life, right?
Yeah, it's been totally empowering because along with the challenging came strategies to help with the challenges as well. Like, you could identify what was causing me to binge eat. And there was, many various different reasons, which made it tricky in itself, because then I think each reason why needed a different strategy to deal with it. But then the more strategies you have, the better it is in the long run. But it was finding the right strategy for each situation. And I think, I'm still obviously working on some, but in terms of the beliefs I held about myself and not caring for myself were actually the easiest ones to get rid of first. I still struggle with the eating when I'm overtired and overworked and stressed with work and stuff. That's still my biggest challenge, but I don't feel like the negative thoughts about myself anymore that caused me to trigger, because you gave me relaxation strategies, different things to do, things to try, which have all really helped. As simple as lighting a candle and practicing deep breathing, to going out for a walk, to doing something else I enjoy instead, just bringing those things back to the forefront of my mind.
And quite often those tools are also simple. They're powerful, but they're simple because we can implement them in our lives without needing to now spend thousands and thousands of dollars, right? Or book I don't know, holiday that is and then months and months away or something like that. It's like, what are the little things that I can add into my daily routine that will support me through my life?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the fact is that, that they're so simple helps. Yeah.
When did you start noticing changes after we started working together?
I would say probably after a month, definitely the thought patterns started to change as well. And I think after 3 to 4 months, it was even more. That was when my goals started to change. Like that was when that number, it wasn't a focus anymore. It was about creating a life that I want to lead. Because I think one of my main reasons also for contacting you and working with you was I wasn't living a life that I wanted to live. If I looked into the future, I wasn't living the best life for me. It was too focused on numbers on a scale, on food. And I think, after 3 to 4 months, that was definitely changing, and it was all focusing on, health and fitness and just being healthy, no matter what the number, no matter what I weigh.
Yeah. And what would you say have been the most tangible results throughout this entire time?
The most tangible ones would be, like, I used to avoid social events, and I don't do that now. Like, if a friend said to me, hey, let's go out for tea, the answer would be yes, whereas in the past it would be no, because I've got a diet plan and I'm sticking to it. And I never wanted to say no, but there was many times that I did, and often now I'll be the one who'll instigate, do you want to go for a catch-up coffee or whatever, piece of cake, whatever. That's one tangible one. And I think too, the way, just the general happiness that I feel day to day, it's that's certainly tangible. I'm certainly much happier. Like, friends have commented how much more relaxed I am around food and stuff. Like, they'd seen other people give me like gifts of chocolate and stuff, and they'd seen me become really stressed about it and throw it out and things like that, whereas they don't see that anymore. I'll either re-gift it or put it up high. Without the emotion that's attached to it. And another tangible one too is I often used to put it off doing things until I got to a certain weight. And the most tangible example of that is my running. So I set a big goal of running a half marathon in November and started training last November, gave myself a whole year. But prior to working with you, I wouldn't have done that. I would have waited till I was a certain weight, to what I deem acceptable, to start running. But I've done, I just started, and, I'm already up to about eight kilometers nonstop now. And it's just brings me the greatest joy. It's, I just love it. And when I'm running, I think I've always got to remember in my hard moments, this is what I'm working towards, not a number on the scale, but this feeling of freedom, this feeling of being out in, my running tracks in native bush, and it's just lovely. So just, being out there and enjoying it. And yeah, I often think I wouldn't be doing this because, I don't weigh that number, but I'm perfectly fit and healthy and able to do it. And it's, yeah, one of my greatest joys. And also getting back into tramping. So I've just done a 3-day tramp over Easter, which I wouldn't have attempted. But yeah, I knew I was fit and I really wanted to do it. And I just focused on lots of walking beforehand and nutritious food choices and not dieting, not thinking I must be this weight. And the weather conditions didn't make the walking easy. Really gusty second day, high on a mountain exposed ridgeline, but it was all fine. Like I was strong with the weight exercises I'd been doing. I was fit with the walking. And yeah, who cares what I weighed?
That's right, because you're just doing, you're living. You're
Yeah.
living your life, you're doing things that you want to do. Because quite often, the reason, like obviously, there are sometimes it is for some people, if they lost weight, that would make some things easier in terms of in the physical perspective, right?
Yeah.
But in general, let's say in general, most people want to lose weight because they believe then they can something, then
Yeah.
they can wear clothes they love, then they can run, then they can travel, then they can tramp, be active, things like that. So we often believe weight loss is, I guess, is that vehicle to what we want.
Yeah.
But what if we could actually remove this vehicle and start creating this life that we really, really want? The weight loss might come, might not, but the weight will then settle where it needs to settle, right?
Yeah.
If our
Yeah.
eating is healthy and well. But hey, you don't need to wait for maybe how many years or never, but actually living that life.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be running now. I wouldn't have done the tramp, and I would have, missed out on, things that bring me great joy. Yeah, and social events and things like that. So yeah, it is. I think of all the things that I appreciate the most, it's the fact that I've got my life back. It's yeah, it's not obsessive thoughts about food and about eating. It's time to just enjoy life for what it should be enjoyed for.
In what way has your eating improved?
It's improved in that, like, I don't obsess about my choices and my food. Like it's based on healthy whole food choices, but knowing that so I always like to be planned, but I think I was probably too over planned and would rigidly stick to that. But I've learnt that that doesn't have to be the case, and if I've got a meal prepared, if I don't feel like it, I won't have it. I'll make another alternative choice. And it might just be another choice that's still perfectly healthy, but it's just getting away from that, from not being flexible. Because I think often if I had had that meal that I didn't really want in the past, I then would have ended up eating again because I wasn't satisfied. It wasn't what I wanted. So I think one of the big differences is I'll really listen to what my body's telling me that I want to eat instead of just eating what a diet tells me I should be eating. And often you eat less because you're eating something that satisfies you. I think, my dieting days, I remember having my diet meal, so-called diet meal, and then afterwards, just totally eating everything after that I had wanted prior to eating that meal because it wasn't satisfying. If I'd only just eaten what I wanted, it would have been way less calories than doing what I used to do. It's and it's just like you learn to enjoy food again. You learn to know that you can just have some of it and stop because it will always be there. I think that was the thing with me. Like the binging was like, okay, I'm never going to eat it again, which wasn't helpful because then you obviously would binge on it and have a lot of it and make yourself sick of it, so you wouldn't want it again. But to tell yourself that no foods are out of bounds has been really freeing. Can be really scary, and you need to learn. I think I've learned to accept that and go with it and just experiment. I think your strategy of having 2 bits of chocolate and have it up high and bring down your 2 bits of chocolate to have daily really worked because I've applied that strategy with lots of things. And I think I've learned that for some things it works, for some things it's not worth having it in the house, which is fine. And I think I used to look upon that as a failure. that I couldn't have certain foods in the house, but now I just think, no, they don't meet my end goal. You know, if I'm going to binge on them, then that's not productive to me. So it's not what I do anymore. So they're just not in the house. But it's good to have a strategy to try, like just having a little bit to see if they can be in the house, as opposed to straight out. You can't have that.
Yep. And also, let's say with time, the more you practice, you would be able to have that in the house as well. But like I remember you and I also discussed, you also can choose. You don't need to have the entire supermarket in the house just to prove anyone or yourself, right? You can have it in the house without eating it. Maybe it just doesn't fit your general, let's say, food intake, right, that you would like to have. And that's okay as well. Like you choose what you would like to have in the house because it's your home. So anything like you, whatever you decide is okay.
Exactly.
Perfect. Awesome. So many changes. That's really, really amazing. So who would you recommend this work for?
Anyone that's totally sick and tired of the diet industry, right? And I think you'll know that when, you know, a healthy eating plan's got to be something that you're happy to follow for the rest of your life. So I think you'll know when it's, you know, when you're on a diet. And I think that's something that you've taught me that I did know I was on a diet, but I wasn't ready to accept it. Like I thought I'd found some food plans that were going to be long lasting, but they weren't past a few months. Anyone that just isn't happy, like that obsesses about food, that knows that there's, you know, that there's that there is a better life out there, that if you're thinking about food all the time and obsessing about it, then just love yourself enough and care for yourself enough to reach out for help and to do something about it. I can't recommend you highly enough. You've certainly changed my life. It's been amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. So what from here?
What from here? It's onwards and upwards. Keep showing up for myself and making the best possible choices. But I think the most important thing is to realise that there'll be times when you don't make the best possible choices, but that was only one choice, and to pick yourself up and to carry on. That it was only one moment in time to carry on. And to definitely keep on working. Like I'm lucky enough that I've decided to do the 6-month group coaching program as well, and I know that'll just be a great follow on and keep me going up, you know, as these one-to-one weekly calls come to an end. It's nice to know that I'm not cast out there on my own, which is a great part of your service as well, that you had options for when the more intense part comes to an end. So
we will continue taking care of you.
Exactly. And the whole thing is it's the focus on the mind. Like if you were thinking about joining this, it's all about your mind and your thoughts, which in the end is I've found for me that was what was causing all my issues. So it's learning about changing them. Plan for the mind. Because
95% of our decisions are driven subconsciously, so through our mind, right? So we need to program them in a way that they trigger decisions that are serving us in our lives.
Exactly. We deserve to be happy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sue. It's been such a pleasure, and I really need to say, you know, the reason why you've had so many changes is because you were showing up. You were doing the work. Okay. This is teamwork, but you were doing the work. You were showing up to 100% every time there's a call. You're telling me what you've done. You were telling me the work that you did, and that pays off.
No, thank you. It's been just great.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to see you tonight on our group call, right? And I'm looking forward to on our journey for the next 6 months. Anyway.
It's exciting.
Yes.